What's up, everybody? Thank you for coming back into the room with the Warrior Metaphysic. So I have a little bit of a different video this time. It's rare that I react to a singular video, but I found myself so triggered by this video initially that it really challenged me, and I had to sit back and allow myself to absorb what was being said, try to see forgiveness from a different perspective. So I really want to know your thoughts about this. This view can be seen as a little bit more radical when it comes to the concept of forgiveness, but I want to dive into it. I'm going to offer my thoughts, and I'll probably be pausing in it a little bit to give my commentary on what's being said here. So let's dive in.
Stop telling people that they need to forgive the people that hurt them for their sake. That's toxic, and I don't know how many times I have to tell you that. We don't need to forgive ourselves for the shit that anybody's done to us that we didn't deserve. Because when you tell the person that is a victim of a decision that was made against their will that caused them harm, that they need to forgive people for their sake, it places the burden and the cross to bear on the victim and takes it away from the person that actually hurt them, the person that knew what they were doing, which then makes the victim into a scapegoat in every situation because they start walking around with the burdens of every time somebody does something to them, they're going to think that it's their fault. And then they're going to end up apologizing to and staying with their abusers longer. Hello? It's like y'all want to continue the cycle of those of us being hurt, staying in hurtful, harmful situations. No.
No, absolutely not. No one is saying that forgiving someone means that you have to stay around that person, that you have to apologize to that person, that you have to continue interacting with that person. And if someone is doing that, you need to get the hell out of their space or get them the hell out of yours as soon as possible. Nobody's saying that a hurt person should go around apologizing to themselves for being hurt or wronged by someone else. And forgiving someone absolutely does not mean that you can or should stay in a situation with the person who wronged you. It means you need to set new boundaries. It means you might need to get the hell out of that person's space or get them out of yours ASAP, like I said. And it means you need to, it doesn't mean you need to absolve them of the stuff that they did. To me, it almost implies that you have to stay in a relationship with or stay in communication with the person who has wronged you. And that is not what forgiveness means. Forgiveness is doing your own internal work to address the pain that the situation caused you. And you'll see I'm looking down at my notes here because sometimes when you have such a reaction to something and there's so much I want to see on the subject, I have to kind of organize my thoughts a little bit, write down key points that I want to make so I don't forget everything I wanted to say in this video. So that's why you will see me looking down at this. So work with me, people. Let's go.
You ain't got to forgive anybody for a goddamn thing. If you don't want some shit held over your head, if you don't want to have to live with the guilt of your actions for the rest of your life, don't do dumb shit. That's how that works. We don't need to forgive anybody for anything in order to move on with our lives. And just because we remember what happened to us, that doesn't make us bitter or evil for wishing them harm and accountability. It makes us fucking normal because that's a normal reaction to being disrespected and harmed. Hello.
Now, I will agree, I do think it is a normal reaction to wish harm. Hope that person gets their get back. I hope you pay for this. Like, as a human being, yes, that is absolutely natural. But I would offer to say that staying in that place and continually wishing harm on a person does more harm to you than it does the other person. So, unfortunately, bad things happen to good people. And also, we live in an attraction-based world. And that means we attract the things that we want as well as the things that we don't want. And when those things that we don't want show up, we have to address those injuries. We have to repair those injuries. The forgiveness, it may even be for the word forgiveness, it may even be a misnomer in this whole situation. Forgiveness is the work of repairing you, uprooting the hurts, uprooting the scars, the confusion, whatever that situation caused. And Forgiveness also does not mean that you have to continue in status quo. That forgiveness doesn't mean that you absolve the person of what they did. I think I think absolution is a natural byproduct of you clearing your hurt, you clearing your pain from that experience, but it's not something that you have to communicate to the person, the people, the event, or the situation that wrongs you or that you were hurt from. I liken it to an analogy of someone denting your car. Let's say, you're driving, someone sideswipe you or T-bones you, not enough to total your car, but you still have a big ass dent or your window is blown out. Forgiveness, when it comes to yourself, is getting that dent repaired, getting the new window. Now, you can choose not to, and you can walk around with the dents. And I fear that when we hear messages like this, sometimes forgiveness means that we don't have to address our internal issues, that we get to just walk around with these scars. And one thing about that I'll say is, have you ever heard the phrase, hurt people hurt people? Now, he says something about this, and I'm going to dive into a little bit deeper. Let's go.
Just because someone remembers what's happened to them, that doesn't mean that they haven't let it go. That doesn't mean that they can't move on with their life. That doesn't mean that they haven't moved on with their life. It just simply means they remember what happened, and if the opportunity so happens to arise where they can either get justice in the situation or bask in the downfall of those that hurt them, they can do that if they choose. I do not understand the desire to place the burden on the victim, the hurt person in the situation, to be forgiving everybody. It's like y'all want the fuckery to continue, and you want to just tell people to take it on the chin. No, go to fucking hell. I don't. No. Here are some scenarios where forgiveness works. You can forgive yourself for consciously ignoring red flags.
And this is kind of where he's bringing this home, and this is the part that I love. But there are a couple of other things I want to address. Like I said, hurt people, hurt other people. Now, when it comes to the act of forgiveness, like I said before, that doesn't mean that you have to go to the person or the people or the situation. When I say situation, because sometimes you can be out somewhere and something happens, right? And you're hurt by that. You know what I'm saying? But more commonly it's in direct relationships with friends, family, loved ones, coworkers, neighbors, whatever, people on the street. Right. So we all know that. Common sense. Okay. But when it comes to forgiveness, that doesn't mean that you have to go and solicit an apology from the person. It doesn't mean you have to initiate a conversation with the person. When it comes to spiritual law, my personal belief, well, not just my belief, but some of us believe, I'll say that punishment is already built into sin. Just like man-made law. You murk somebody, the punishment is already built into that if you get caught. You rob a bank, get caught, the punishment is already built into that, right? And I do believe that spiritually, when we commit these infractions, whether you believe in God, source, karma, whatever, and especially if you believe in karma, you've already established a karmic debt in the universe, and it has to be repaid, whether in this lifetime or if you believe in reincarnation, another lifetime, but at some point, right? So you don't have to sit around hoping to be there to see somebody's downfall. I think when we are lining up for that and we are very consumed about wanting to see the other person suffer, that's when you are creating more suffering because you're breeding suffering at that point. Now, like I said, maybe we need to reframe forgiveness as looking at you doing your eternal work to heal from the situation. The healing happens inside of you. Life happens inside of you. When that person did do or did not do, took something away or whatever, where did you feel that pain? You felt it inside. You didn't feel it out there. You didn't feel it back there. You felt it inside. So the forgiveness has to come from the inside of yourself as well. And you get there by different avenues. It's dependent upon the situation. Sometimes it's a simple writing process that, and I don't mean simple as in, oh, let me just write a note and it's over. That's a part of it. That's a piece of it. And it doesn't mean that you have to send a forgiveness letter to a person. And I talk about that. You can write a forgiveness letter, rip it up, throw it away. Don't read it again. Don't reread it once you write it. Say everything you need to say to that person. Curse, scream, laugh, lie, whatever. Be as honest and forthcoming about the situation as you can, how you felt about it, when it happened, how it happened, what the person was wearing. Be detailed. Anyway, I'm getting way too off topic here. But since I touched on that, forgiveness letters are very powerful and they can do a lot towards your healing. But you may have to do more than one. You may have to do it over time as stuff comes up. But forgiveness means repairing the damage that was done to you by the other person, the event or the situation. Like I said, inside of you. And I'm not putting words in this gentleman's mouth. I actually appreciate his perspective. I think it's a very valid perspective because it represents where a person is in their journey, right? But I'm willing to argue and offer that if you choose to not forgive a person, you're choosing to hold on to all the pain, all the vitriol, and all the resentment that you have for a person. And also, I think a lot of people who feel this way feels like you have to have a conversation with the person, that you have to stay engaged with the person. Forgiveness does not mean that things get to continue status quo, like we can go on as usual. No, that means this person revealed to you who they are. So you need to set up some boundaries. You need to, and if it's somebody that you're in a relationship with, like a partner or your family member, someone who, you know, they hurt you bad, but you got responsibilities, you got to stay in each other's life, then you do have to work on some method of forgiveness, doing that internal work. In some cases, being able to forgive someone does come with a conversation. It does come with an apology. But in instances where you don't have to mess with the person again, you don't have to interact with the person, you don't have to solicit an apology, you can forgive them without saying a word to them ever again. You can set firm boundaries and act within them. Trust me, they'll get, when you do something to somebody, I'm turning my page on my nose here. When you do something to somebody, you create an energy in the universe, and it has to be balanced one way or the other. So you can walk around with the hurt and the shame and all this stuff and choose not to forgive. And I would also offer to say, if you haven't, that doesn't also mean that you have to forgive someone immediately either. Go through your pain, hurt, cry, scream, complain, do whatever you need to do. Allow yourself to feel the fullness of that emotion, because that's the process. Sometimes the only way out is through. And when we try to avoid the pain, when we try to avoid the reality of the situation and all this ugly, we don't want to look at the embarrassing details. We don't want to look at the part we play in the situation. That leads to holding on to the pain. That leads to causing more pain. And one thing too he said, about wanting to see the other person suffer is, if we get into this habit of not forgiving the people who wronged us, you're walking around as a hurt person. And what do they say about hurt people? Hurt people, hurt people, hurt other people. So I offer you a choice. You can subscribe to I don't have to forgive an MF for nothing. Forget that. Okay. Or I would invite you to look at that and say, all right, I've chosen not to forgive people, but how am I feeling about that? Am I secretly carrying around anger? Am I secretly carrying around pain, shame, and embarrassment because I ain't took the time to forgive that person? I don't think they need forgiveness. Are you becoming bitter over time, having not done that? Are you hurting other people? Are you saying, because what I worry about, what happens here is you get to a place where you're like, Well, people don't have to forgive me for the shit I do to them. I'm just going to hurt other people because I've been hurt too. I don't need your forgiveness. You don't need to forgive me because forgiveness is never about the other person. Now, it's different if you want to have relationship with that other person. If that person is absolutely completely sorrowful and apologetic and they're doing everything to show you that they've changed, to show you that they realize the error of their ways. That's different than the people who go around just hurting other people and feeling like they don't have to be absolved by anything. Absolving someone doesn't mean you continue with status quo. And like in what he said about the abuser in the situation, like being around your abuser, if you're continuing in the same path and finding yourself making excuses for the person, that is an unhealthy situation. That is you not setting boundaries, you not doing the work to clear up whatever it is that brought that person into your life because something brought them there and something is keeping them there past the hurt. So don't take I don't have to forgive anyone as I don't have to do my internal work. Because there is internal work to be done. It happened for a reason. And that's why I appreciate his message because it made me look at it from another perspective, but also dive deeper into why healing is necessary. And some of us might want to separate healing from forgiveness. I'm going to argue and say healing is the process of forgiveness. But even if you never say the words, I forgive you to that person, you can still post up your boundaries. You can still walk in the reality of this new transformed relationship because you set healthy boundaries. You're not going to allow this person to do this again. You're not going to put yourself in a situation where this can be done to you again. You can do that and be in forgiveness to that capacity and not have to absolve the person of the infraction that we feel was inflicted upon us. But anyway, I've been talking too long. I'm going to wrap up this video and let you hear the rest of what he has to say because I think he says some good stuff here. And this is Equality Alley on TikTok. You know, let's go.
Once you understand why you ignored those red flags and where that wound comes from, you can forgive yourself for making excuses for other people out of love. Once you understand where that comes from and why you did that, you can forgive yourself for struggling with being alone due to your desperation to have a family and some form of love because you've never had anyone that's actually loved and supported you. And so you began to accept things that you shouldn't have because you rather had someone with you than deal with yourself alone because you've been alone your entire life. Those are the types of things that we can forgive ourselves for. But we don't have to forgive other people for any fucking thing. And that doesn't mean that we're holding on to it. It just simply means bitch fuck you for life. And all of eternity. Because some shit you just can't come back from. You just want to be able to hold something against them. Babes, you did it. It should be held against you. Just because you put the clouds in the sky and you let it rain, I'm supposed to clear it out? How about no? If the weight of your piss poor actions when you harm somebody else is hovering over your head for the rest of your life, then that's what you fucking deserve. And if your actions were so egregious, I'm not forgiving you for shit. So stop telling us to, goddammit.
Hey, gotta respect him for that. But let me go back because he did say something here that I really did want to acknowledge.
If the weight of your piss poor actions when you harm somebody else is hovering over your head for the rest of your life, then that's what you fucking deserve. And if your
And to that point, I'll venture to say, just like I said earlier, when you change your vibration through your own healing, through learning the lessons that situation was supposed to teach you, that painful situation, that scarring, when you heal those scars, that you already be living in the reality of that person is going to be held accountable because that person won't have the option to relate to you in the same way. They won't have the option to hurt you again. You've been healed from that. They'll vibrate out of your space. You'll gravitate out of theirs and it'll be replaced with new, more deserving people. So they'll get theirs in the sweet by and by. You ain't got to walk around holding on to it. And like I said, just because you forgive someone doesn't mean you have to say that out loud. Deal with it in yourself. Talk to God about it. Pray about it. Journal about it. Whatever your method is and your process is for healing and getting past it, engage in that. That does not mean you have to engage with the other person unless the situation calls for it. And I'm sure, most reasonable people will understand and recognize when those situations are. But I just wanted to give my thoughts on that one, people. I think I heard people refer to this as like radical unforgiveness or something. I really am not familiar with that concept because I am a forgiving person because I know that I can forgive you and not have to fool with you. I know I can forgive you, but our relationship will never be the same. And just because our relationship has changed does not mean I don't forgive you. It means that we live in a new reality now. But I'll leave it there, people. Again, shout out to Equality Alley on that one, brother. If you ever see this video, I'm not coming for you. I'm not trying to disagree with you. I love the fact that at the end, he broke down he touched on some of the things I said too, like you have to forgive yourself for not being the loving person who attracted that into your life. That, like I said, there's a reason why these situations arise. And when stuff happens, those painful things, it's an opportunity for you to reflect and look into yourself. And I don't want to sound preachy here, so I'm in this too because I'm always doing work. It's an opportunity for us to look within ourselves to see where that scar landed. How ugly is that scar? How did it look? Where did it come from? What ointment do I put on it to resolve it, to clear it up? What antibiotic do I need to take? And by that, I mean that there might be scripture, there might be prayer, there might be affirmations, it might be going on a retreat, whatever salve you need. It's an opportunity for you to go and clear that stuff up. So don't take I don't got to forgive you to mean that I won't have to do my own work to heal from this situation. And I think essentially that's what we were both saying, but we just got to different ways of saying it. But I thought that video was pretty cool. It was pretty radical to me, and I admire him for being like, man, I ain't gotta forgive you, but I'm just offering, like, you may not have to say you do, but you gotta clear it up in yourself. So anyway, I hope y'all enjoyed that one. I hope my rant wasn't too long and that it gave you some kind of value. um like I said, I understand when people say things differently, it can register. My words might register with these people over here, but not register with you. His words might register with y'all, but not this person. So I think it's very helpful when we can have discourse and have these conversations. And that's why I like reacting to these videos, because different messages said different ways resonates with different people. But anyway, this is the Warrior Metaphysic. I'm out. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you got value from it. And check out my video linked at the end of this one here. That's a deeper dive into just the whole concept of forgiveness, where I react to various TikToks. People drop some really good nuggets in there, some very, very valuable nuggets. Check out that full deep dive video, and I'll see you at the next one. Peace.